Good morning, Flagler County. I'm Rich Carroll. You're listening to Flagler's Morning News on Wednesday, January 26th, and this local news is a service of Flagler County's Toyota dealer. Beaver Toyota, here to wow you. 7th District Senator Travis Hudson is expecting a very busy legislative session. WNZF's Rich Petchke takes a look.
Hudson says that number one on the list is
election reform and trying to make sure that we have elections that are fair, there's no fraud, and that people cannot cheat or falsify their ballots. So that's probably number one, and it's a big priority, and hopefully that'll be moving in a couple of weeks here.
The Senate also wants to eliminate preemption bills that stop local governments from taking actions, such as putting a company out of business. Hudson offers advice to those officials.
As far as the Senate, we have decided that we're tired of doing preemption bills every year for every one-off rogue local government that decides to put somebody out of business. So we've got some bills that ask locals to kind of, number one, analyze what you're doing before you take a vote. But number two, if you harm that business, make them whole. A kind of a you break it, you buy it approach. The goal is if that were to take effect, nobody's going to come to Tallahassee and get lobbyists to try and have us do something to preempt them. We're going to point back down and say that was handled either by the courts or the local government who chose to make that decision.
Lawmakers are also looking at measures to lower housing costs. For Flagler's Morning News, I'm Rich Petchke.
A local lawmaker talks taxes with WNZF. Amy Cherry reports.
With no state income tax, many residents of Florida enjoy more money in their paychecks than some do in other states. State Rep Paul Renner, who represents the 27th District, which includes Flagler County, called for continued fiscal responsibility on that front.
We should never take a dollar from the taxpayers unless there is a compelling use for it. It's my belief, and this is philosophically where all my Republican colleagues are, that an individual that earns that money knows the highest and best use for that money. And we should be very, very careful before we create new programs and new spending, which is the D.C. pattern. It's not about needs, it's about wants up there. And if you have something you want, you just print more money.
Renner says our national debt has expanded dramatically over the last 18 months and will result in continued inflation.
We are now seeing what I fear is an inflation battle we're going to fight. And that inflation, which devalues the money that's in your pocket today, so it's worth less tomorrow than it is today, is a pernicious, horrible tax on every single man and woman that lives in Florida and the country. It's especially hard on those who are on a tight budget, and it's something that is not being adequately addressed in Washington, D.C. They're advocating for spending more.
What some state lawmakers want to do to help residents battle higher costs?
We're going to be looking at this idea of giving a break on the gas tax, some type of tax relief, whether it's in that form or another form. I think the idea of putting that excess money back in the hands of working men and women and moms and dads is absolutely what we ought to be thinking about as we move forward.
If your travels take you down Belterre Parkway between Royal Palms Parkway and State Road 100, you may see some delays starting Monday. Tyler Gibson, a project manager with the Palm Coast Stormwater and Engineering Department, says they're working on milling and resurfacing the roadway.
We're going to have daily lane closures out there during the construction process, which should be between 4 to 6 weeks. We appreciate you guys' patience and cooperation with dealing with the traffic, and try to use an alternate route if possible. And if you do have to go through that area, please expect delays, and we appreciate your cooperation again with your patience.
The roadwork became necessary after a survey determined the repairs were needed to maintain standards. Most of Flagler County's rescue and emergency management departments will participate in the upcoming informational community event. Karen Johnson has more.
Flagler County's departments of fire, rescue, emergency management, and growth management, as well as the Flagler County Sheriff's Office, have scheduled the first informational community event of 2022 on January 31st. Flagler County Fire Rescue Chief Michael Tucker.
These events are a great opportunity for us to get out and meet the citizens and help them get a better understanding of what we do as Flagler County Fire Rescue. Obviously, we're more than just the fire trucks. We provide ambulance service. We do fire prevention, public education, and community paramedicine as well. So it's a great opportunity for us to engage with them and just allow them to see that when we're not in the middle of trying to run the emergency calls.
The open house style event scheduled from 4:30 to 6:30 January 31st will be at the Rima Ridge Fire Station at 500 Rodeo Road, Ormond Beach. Will provide information about the various programs and services available to residents. A second informational event will be held March 7th at the Old Dixie Community Park. For Flagler's Morning News, I'm Karen Johnson.
Two different local men in two different military branches at two different times.
Horace Shoebanks said he enlisted in the Marines in the 1960s.
I joined the Marine Corps on December 20th, 1960. Went to boot camp in March of 1961. Graduated 12 weeks later and was assigned to Marine Barracks in Washington, D.C. at 8th and 9th Street.
A.J. Evans got into the Air Force in 1976.
I went through the Air Force Academy, which is a very rigorous program, both academically, militarily, and physically.
We're grateful to both men for their service to the country. Listen to Common Grounds on Sunday mornings at 10 here on WNZF and anytime on the Flagler radio app. Tomorrow, Horace and AJ talk about their experiences in the military. From the WNZF newsroom, I'm Deb Albertson.
And now you're up to date on Flagler's Morning News. I'm Rich Carroll.